Stratified squamous epithelium is named for the layers of cells that are closest to the free surface. There, the cells are that very flat, thin shape, which is where the squamous name comes from. The cells that are closer to the basement membrane are either cuboidal or even sometimes columnar. They're more rounded, they're closer to the blood supply. Remember, epithelial tissue doesn't have a blood supply, so those cells that are by the basement membrane are nourished by blood vessels that are in the connective tissue layer. Stratified squamous epithelium is located all throughout your body. In fact, your body is covered in it. That's what your epidermis, that outer layer of your skin, is made up of, is stratified squamous epithelium. And it's also the inner lining of your of your cheeks. Okay, the difference between, you can feel the difference between your skin and you can feel it and then inside of your cheek. Okay, your skin is a little bit tougher. Your mouth, okay, the inside there, if you feel it with your tongue, is more moist. Okay, and the difference between those two comes from the protein keratin. Keratin is a waterproofing protein, so your skin has a lot of keratin in it. Helps protect you from, like when you take a bath or take a shower, so all that water doesn't get absorbed into your body, so you don't blow up. It also prevents water from leaving your body, unless you're sweating, of course. But if you feel the inside of your mouth, it's different feeling than your skin, even though both of those are stratified squamous epithelium, because the inside of your mouth lacks that keratin, because we don't want to waterproof that. We want that saliva to be able to come out. It's different. So if we look at a sample of stratified squamous epithelium, here towards the top, let's see if I can get my pen to work. There we go. All right. Okay, up in this area, you can kind of see those thin, flat cells up there. And as it moves further and further away from the connective tissue, that's the stuff down here, is your connective tissue, it becomes more and more flattened. This right here that I'm going to draw on is that basement membrane. Okay? So this is the base of your stratified squamous epithelium. It's also the base of your epidermis. This, oops, sorry, right there, that's your dermis. That right there is your epidermis. Okay, it's composed of stratified squamous epithelium. Your dermis is composed up of different kinds of connective tissue. Connective tissues we will be talking about later. And if you look closest to the basement membrane, you can see the cells there are more elongated, more cube-shaped. Okay, depending on the cells, they're more clustered together. You can see all those dark purple things are the nucleus, or the nuclei of all these different cells. And they're more spread out the further that they get away from that blood supply of the connective tissue. So keratin, as I was saying, all right, so as we were talking, keratinization, it's caused by that protein keratin, and it helps to prevent water, any other substances from escaping your body. It also blocks chemicals, microorganisms, water, other substances from entering into your body. Now, stratified squamous epithelium isn't just found in your skin. Okay? It's also located in the oral cavities we talked about, the esophagus, which is the tube that conveys your food from your mouth down to your stomach, and as well as the vagina and the anal canal. There, you're not going to accumulate that keratin. Okay. Next up is stratified cuboidal epithelium, and of course it's going to consist of 2 or 3 layers, okay, multiple layers of cube-like cells. And these cells you are going to find in the lining of your mammary glands, your sweat glands, your salivary glands, and the pancreatic ducts. Okay? Ducts are the passageways from these glands, possibly to your bloodstream, or wherever they're going to release their contents. Okay, in the case of your salivary glands, into your mouth. So if we look at this sample of tissue here, I can get this pen to work again. This right there that I'm drawing the circle around, that line represents your basement membrane. This right here represents the free surface inside there, that free area. And so out here we have our cube-shaped cells. And here you can see there's 2 or 3 layers of these that kind of go around. The darker purple is easier to see that I'm circling. That's the nucleus. It's outer, the cell membrane is a little bit tougher. It's just kind of represented by that pink blob right there that you see around the purple. Next up is stratified columnar epithelium. And stratified columnar epithelium consists of several layers, again, of elongated as well as cube-shaped cells. And it's located in part of the male urethra. The urethra is what conveys urine from your bladder out. And as well as parts of your pharynx. The pharynx is what connects your mouth and your nasal cavity with your trachea and your esophagus. And so it's that back part behind your uvula, which is that hanging down thing in the back of your throat. That's where your pharynx is located. It sits on top of the larynx, on top of the esophagus. So it's a passageway for both food and air. If we look at this, get the pen to work again. All right, this right there is your basement membrane. This right here is your free surface, the free area. And so we've got our multiple layers of cells that make that up. There's 3 layers there. Some spots are maybe only a couple. There could be more than that. But the cells there are more elongated. Okay, they're a lot longer in shape, a little bit bigger. All right, our next epithelial tissue is referred to as transitional epithelium. Transitional means it goes through periods of changes. And one thing it's pretty neat that it can do that. And what it does is it actually responds to increases in tension. So if you think a good analogy would be a balloon. Okay, you take a balloon, there's no air in it. The molecules that compose that balloon are really close together. You start increasing the tension of the balloon by putting more and more air into it. Those molecules get further and further apart. They stretch apart, the balloon gets bigger, but the lining of the balloon gets smaller. You put too much air into it, that balloon is going to pop. Now, this is important in your urinary bladder. Okay, as you drink some water, fill your bladder eventually, okay, it needs to be able to stretch. And so that's where you're going to find this transitional epithelial tissue. So when there is no urine present, or just a little bit of urine present, the transitional epithelium is going to consist of a lot of layers of cube-like cells. And then as the bladder is distended, as it fills with urine, the transitional epithelium appears to contain only a few layers of cells. It looks like it gets thinner. So if we look at a really close-up view of the urinary bladder, this is that transitional epithelium. It's highlighted already for you in blue. The free surface is above that, connective tissue is below that, and it's capable of stretching. Here's another view of it. Come on, there we go. All right, the lumen refers to the space inside. That's going to be your free surface area. And so right now there's not a lot of urine in there. And what would happen is this part right in here would start to stretch. You wouldn't have all of these little passageways inside of here. They'd get further and further apart, and it would look more and more rounded. All right, our last epithelial tissue is a glandular epithelium, and it's composed of cells that are specialized to produce and secrete substances whether it's into ducts or into body fluids. Exocrine glands are glands that secrete their products into ducts that open onto a surface. Okay, think sweat glands. Endocrine glands are those that are going to secrete directly in either to tissue fluid or into your blood. So most of your, like your ovaries, your pancreas, your salivary glands are more of the, well, not your salivary glands, sorry, salivary would be more exocrine, but your endocrine glands are your thyroid, your pancreas, your ovaries, testes. In addition to classifying whether or not something is endocrine or exocrine, these glands can be classified according to how they release their substances. Merocrine glands are going to release their fluid or substance, by exocytosis. That's where it basically just pushes its fluid out from the cells. Apocrine are going to release small portions of their glandular cell bodies along with their fluids, and holocrine glands will actually release entire cells along with the fluid that they are releasing. And that's it for your epithelial tissues. Now you're going to work on lab exercises 8, 9, and 10, which will be handed out shortly. And with that, you're going to be looking at some of these different epithelial tissues underneath the microscope. And it's really important that when you are looking at it underneath the microscope, that you try and get it, that you can maneuver the slide around quite a bit, in which to find the spot on there that closely resembles the diagrams that are included with your handouts. Otherwise, when it comes to taking the test on these, yep, you will be taking a test. The test is going to be where it's have 10 to 12, maybe 15, I can't remember off the top of my head, microscope set up. Slides are already in focus. You have to look at the slide underneath the microscope and write down what the name of the tissue is and where it's located in the body. Or, yeah, well, maybe it's not the location. I'm still a little fuzzy on that. I'll think about it. But you definitely will need to be able to identify whether or not it's blood or if it's stratified squamous. There will be a word bank on it. So it's important that you take the time now while I'm giving you work time to really try and identify what kind of tissue that is, what kind of characteristics does it have. Take notes on it. Okay, it'll help you out a lot. The slides for the epithelial tissue are already out. Tomorrow we will start talking about connective tissue, and then we can start throwing those slides in there as well. And then we'll end with muscular and nervous tissue. Good luck.